property prices nationally soared by 18% in the last year alone. Peter White is Managing Director at Finance Brokers Association of Australia. He says price rises have made it a very busy time for his members.
It has been an enormous year of growth, and it's been an interesting period for finance and mortgage brokers across the country in assisting borrowers to be able to ensure their structures are right, or if they've had challenges through COVID, to ensure they've got access to stimuluses or grants in some cases. There's been a heck of a lot of activity. In fact, our brokers are saying to us that they've never been busier for years, which is a great thing. But also something we've got to watch that's happening in the marketplace to ensure that people are getting if I can put appropriate levels of debt, if I can put it that way, from not just going in hard because we've got low interest rates, because we know interest rates are going to go up, and we want to make sure that people have got long-term affordability rather than a short-term gain. But it's been challenging at the same time with borrowers trying to get deposits together, and as we see, governments have brought out various stimuluses for that. Because of how high house prices have gone up. It sort of seems to be the never-ending chase to get a deposit together, and just when you think you're there, the prices go up again.
So with that in mind, are we seeing fewer people applying for mortgages? I know you just said your members are saying they've never been busier than ever before.
Yeah, people are still applying, people are still getting their loans, but it also comes down to that you may have wanted to purchase a home where you grew up with mum and dad, but you actually can't afford it. So you've got to move somewhere else to make that purchase. Or we've also got a lot of people who are still living with mum and dad and they're buying an investment somewhere else, something they can afford to do. So there's an enormous amount of activity with a mix of all that going on at the moment.
What kind of shift have you seen in terms of finance for different areas, say regional and city dwellings?
There is certainly a greater interest in regional marketplaces for investment. And there are properties that are getting good rental returns based on compared to the value or the price you are paying for them. And it's the second and third home buyers too are actually quite active at the moment. A lot of them are quite cashed up and looking for bargains if you can find one. And that's always the challenge in today's marketplace, is trying to find that bargain somewhere that says I want in, or alternatively, it's one of those things. I've been in the industry for just over 4 decades now. It's you're getting in the housing market. So I think you've just got to jump in as best you can when you can. Otherwise, it keeps moving away from you. And but it's certainly a very active marketplace.
Was there enough support in the federal budget for people wanting to make that jump?
Not really. The federal budget was great. They increased the number of seats under the First Home Loan Scheme. And that's great. That was a really good thing. But compared to the number of purchases out there and the number of borrowers out there, it's a very small percentage. And there's certain qualification hurdles that you need to actually qualify for that sort of grant. So it is a great thing, and there's no debate about that. But at the same token, it's a very small piece of the marketplace in total. So, and outside of that, there was pretty much nothing in it from a homeowner's point of view or a borrower's point of view. Some of the considerations around cost of living measures and so on, I guess, are great, but they're not really long-term.
Plenty of talk at the moment with inflation sitting at 3.5%. That's the top of the RBA's target. The extra funding, as you mentioned, coming from the federal government. Official interest rates, they're only going to go up, and quite possibly a lot. What are you expecting in the next 6 months?
Oh, for the next 6 months with interest rates, I'm expecting to be holding my breath. It could be quite a scary environment. We've actually been talking to politicians on both sides of the House in regards to some research we did last year that basically said if people's rent and or their mortgages go up by $300 a month, 57.5% of people couldn't afford to pay it. So we have a real concern knowing rates are going up, and regardless of some banks dropping their variable rates, that's just a tactic to get you in the door, because when you look at their fixed rates, they're constantly pushing them out. So therefore, they're expecting rates to rise, and they're trying to catch you to get you come in with cashback offers and cheap interest rates that are short-term gains, long-term problems. And we're very concerned that banks turn around and put up interest rates without any justification of increase of cost of funds, it's going to put a lot of Australians into financial hardships. They're not going to be able to meet their loan repayments. So we're very concerned about that, and we're in strong dialogue, as I said, across the whole of government and opposition in regards to making sure these things get managed properly. Interest rates are going to go up. Hopefully this year there's no more than the one step, and I'm kind of hoping it'll be less than 25 basis points, but time will tell. Some economists are saying there could be multiple steps before Christmas that are taking in a rise of interest rates. But the undoubtable thing is that they will go up, and we just hope it's done by the banks in line with cost of fund movements and not just because they can.
Managing Director of Finance Brokers Association of Australia, Peter White.